G'day there once again viewers, your mate Kamikaze78 here, coming to you guys with the Wednesday recap for the 12th of the 7th, 2017. So guys, yeah, it's been a while since we've done one of these, a little too long I will admit, and I do apologise for that. The Monday recaps are meant to be a reliable entry in my channel's content each and every week, a video that you can come home to after a long Monday at work or school, but clearly that hasn't been happening lately, which is mainly coming from work. Right now, what I will say is that retail plus end of financial year plus very little staff equals a casual staff member like myself quickly working full-time hours each and every week. No joke guys, I am on a casual contract, but I've been working full-time hours pretty much from when my break at uni actually kicked off. Like, I'm working the maximum amount of hours that I'm allowed to work each and every week. So yeah, things are a little bit intense right now, which is great, don't get me wrong, money is great and it is getting me much closer to my much needed PC upgrade. But by the same token, working full-time hours and working on YouTube content can be a bit straining at times. If anything, I do need to improve my time management skills to hopefully push things in the right direction, but that will be a long-term process at best. So I ask that you guys just bear with me as I try to work this whole balance thing out, you know. Adulting is something I'm still learning how to do. In fact, adulting is something that most adults are still learning how to do, but you get my point. Anyway, let's move on to the more interesting stuff, that being the gaming news from the past week. Starting off with PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, quite a lot of stuff has been emerging that should give gamers an idea as to what they should be expecting from this ever-growing title. Early in the week, some very early work-in-progress images of the upcoming desert map were released by the PlayerUnknown's account on Twitter, showing off some of the obstacles, challenges, and opportunities that we will be faced with this new arena. Something that I personally found really interesting was the lacking amount of trees on this map and the abundance of cacti. I think it's safe to say that in Battlegrounds, the idea of using trees as cover in open field firefights is very attractive to the average player, especially on the current map. But on this desert map, it appears as though those options are going to be very few and far between, and on first glance through these screenshots, it looks as though the cacti that'll be littered around the map is actually thinner than your average tree that we find on the current map, which isn't going to serve as great cover. That, in combination with the reports of this map being a lot more urban-based, makes me very keen for this map and the experience that it is going to bring. The current map does do a great job at bringing us a variety of gameplay experiences every match, but the more frantic pace that will be set by this map's urban environment should be a breath of fresh air for the game. Now, something else that emerged from PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds this past week was the announcement that the 6-month plan for the game has been extended somewhat. Now, for all of those who don't know what I mean by that, essentially the plan for PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds was that after it went live publicly, that is when it went live on the Steam Early Access page, essentially the idea was to have the game ready for a full launch, a full-scale launch 6 months after its initial public alpha release. However, as of this week, PlayerUnknown's, the head of development himself, made an announcement saying that this 6-month plan was going to be extended to ensure that the game was going to launch fully in a more fleshed out state. Now, unfortunately, there has been the odd vocal individual that has been a little bit tilted by this announcement, saying that they bought the game with the intention of it being fully ready very, very soon, and you know, they shouldn't expect to be waiting this long with an early access game in mind. But in response to that vocal minority, I ask you this question: would you prefer a half-assed game coming out as a full game, or a full game that's completely polished and completely working as it should, coming out a little bit later? Personally guys, I'd prefer the second, and I'm really thankful to PlayerUnknown's for taking the time to ensure that his game is launching in a stable and completed state, as opposed to trying to rush it out the door. Too many games these days do get rushed out the door before they are ready, so I'm thankful that PlayerUnknown's is doing his part to break this trend in the gaming industry. Anyway, moving right on along, in the world of Planetside 2, some interesting things have been happening in the BioLabs on Amaranth. BioLabs have always been a tough love within the Planetside 2 community. We all love the potential XP grinder that they can turn into, but hate the quick and sharp halt that they can bring to the flow of the game. We've all been there before, haven't we? A fight in a BioLab that is crucial to the victory of the faction on a certain continent, but good lord, do we wish that that fight was over quickly. Well, thankfully, the BioLab experience is hopefully being improved with some changes that are being made to the layout of cover in BioLabs, with the changes being live on Amarish BioLabs for people to check out now as we speak. Rel recently published a video discussing the changes made to BioLabs, which is linked in a card on your screen currently, and in the description down below if you're interested in looking into the changes for yourself before you get into another BioLab grindfest. Now, broadening our horizons a little bit here and still mentioning Rel's video, something that I found really interesting in Rel's video is that he mentioned that a previous issue that the BioLabs had is that they were very much a base that required an all or nothing push to move forward. There were no staging areas, no places to catch your breath in between engagements, nothing of the sort. You just needed to go all out on one assault to actually win the battle, which I think is what really encourages the zerging mentality that we see in Planetside 2 a lot. And what I found even more interesting is that Rel mentioned that that very issue is something that exists with many of the bases currently in the game. So, could we finally see a fix to base design on the way or not? Something that kind of plagues the majority of this game. We'll see, friends. We'll see. But anyway guys, that's enough rambling. It's time we get into your questions for this week. And as per always folks, I apologise if I happen to mispronounce any of your names. And the first question we've got today comes from Firmbie, and he says, what advice would you give yourself if you could go back in time, say 5 years? What advice would I give myself? What advice would I give myself? That's always a tough one. It would really be about... Actually, if I could go back 5 years in time, it would be, don't wish you could get out of school so early. Like, I know it's the most cliche thing, it really is. You know, everyone in their teenage years wishes they could ditch school as soon as possible. They hate it, they hate the assignments, they hate waking up every morning just to go to school and things like that. But I tell you guys, you know, as I look back, I kind of wish that I didn't wish it away so quick and I kind of took more time to enjoy what it was. You know, once you leave school, you tend to lose contact with a lot of the people that you met at school and, you know, you grew close to and things like that. And, you know, you all go your separate ways and, you know, hey, you know, at school you'd meet your friends every day, where in real life, that unfortunately becomes more of a rarity. You know, you've got your workmates, sure, but, you know, those mates that you met every day at school, that's sort of something that's going to go once you leave school. And, you know, the assignments might be bad and you know, painful, but, you know, it's either assignments or going to work every day, and if you can find a job that you love, then that's great, but if not, then it's not exactly much better than the assignments. So, if I go back 5 years in time, it would be, you know, enjoy school while you can, enjoy it for what it is, because once it's gone, you really do learn to appreciate it, and you do start to miss it. So, for anyone who's younger in my audience, enjoy school while you can. Trust me, you might think I'm insane for saying it now, but when you graduate and go to university, or you move into an apprenticeship, or whatever your life decisions are, trust me, you'll miss it just as much as I do sometimes. You really will. Anyway, moving on to the next question today, coming from RockinAraxis, and he says, have you ever thought of making a game? And if yes, what type of game genre would it be? That's a tough one, it really, really is. I did do game design in college way back. When I say way back, as always a long time ago. It was only 2 years ago now. Holy shit, I'm 2 years out of college. We don't want to talk about that. Basically, I did do game design for a little bit, and while it was something that did interest me, it wasn't something that I was kind of willing to pursue further. You know, it was sort of like, you know, I'll dabble in this and see how it goes, and it wasn't really where my passion landed. But if I were to create a game, that's always a tough one. If I were to create a game, I'd create Planetside 3. I really would, because, yeah, that's another video for another time, guys. But if I'm honest, guys, I don't see... Yeah, look, spoiler alert, I've got a video coming as to what I think the Planetside series needs. But that is another video for another time. But I just create Planetside 3, because I love the idea of there being, you know, thousands of players all shooting each other at the same time on a persistent battlefield. You know, that sort of concept excites me. However, I'd need to create my own version of it. So, yeah, there you go. That's sort of my answer to your question there. An MMO FPS of some kind. And last but not least for the day, we've got something from Metrack, and he says, number one, so, since you bought a PlayStation 4, would you play Planetside 2 on it as well? And two, did you get Payday 2 while it was free? So, to answer your first question of would I play Planetside 2 on PS4 as well, I actually have given it a go. I have been playing Planetside 2 on the PlayStation 4, and God, it's different. It really, really is. Like, and I'm not having a jab at the console guys here, you know, you guys have your absolute gods of players as well, but I've noticed that it's much easier to sneak up behind people in that game, and it's much easier to get a flank, because it's a lot harder for people to react to flanks on a console. But I am garbage at the game on console, simply because, yeah, I hate using the controller for first-person shooters for the most part. I'm starting to train myself up a little bit more now with it, but Jesus Christ, I hate using it. And I'm no good at it whatsoever. Plus, the whole flow of the game feels very different. The map layout, the spawn screen feels different. The creator class feels different. Even though it's mechanically the same, it just feels different to use, and I'm still trying to get used to it. So, yeah, I have given it a go. Whether I enjoy it yet or not, I'm not entirely sure. The only server I've actually got access to on my PlayStation for some weird reason is Ceres, the EU server. So I don't know why that's happening, but I'll let it slide just for this time. And did I get Payday 2 while it was free? I actually own Payday 2 on my account. I bought it way back yonder, but never really got around to playing it a whole lot. It's not something that really interests me. You know, it was fun every once in a while way back in the day, but never really got into it for the long term. Just didn't. So, yeah, no, that answers your question. I didn't get it while it was free because I already owned it. So, there's that. And folks, on that note, that's going to bring us to the close of this week's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever day you want to call it, recap for the 12th of the 7th, 2017. Guys, I really am going to try and improve on my consistency when it comes to getting these videos out. Hopefully, we see some sort of results by it, but, you know, we'll see what happens. If you guys enjoyed today's video, then a backhanding of that like button would be greatly appreciated. And if you find yourself backhanding that like button and you're new to the channel, why don't you go around and backhand the subscribe button whilst you are at it to keep up to date with the content in which I'm releasing here on the channel. If you guys have got any questions for next week's recap, feel free to leave them in the comment section down below. Once again guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Peace out, and I'll be seeing you all next time. Have a good one.